I would first like to say that I never intended to do this much mephedrone. Anyone who thinks it is a good idea to do this much is very stupid and needs a reality check. But it happened. I feel it pertinent to write this experience up as others could benefit from this warning. It started off brilliantly. I had purchased 3 grams of mephedrone online and was ready to test it to see what its effects were. Initially, I did 500 milligrams on a weekend and loved the clean buzz it gave with empathogenic effects and massive increase in the appreciation of music. And most amazingly, no come down at all. So I decided to do it again 2 days later and ended up doing 1 gram overall and selling the rest, which did not have much effect due to tolerance, but it was still nice, even though this is probably twice the recommended dose. So a week later, I decided to buy 10 grams of the stuff to sell it on and keep a backup supply. I indulged myself the night I got it and started watching porn. Bad idea. The mephedrone makes me horny as hell, but makes me also completely anorgasmic. So 36 hours later, 1 very tired right hand, and 2 grams of mephedrone down, and probably a Guinness World Record up, I decided enough was enough and got some sleep. So 2 days later, I decided stupidly to do this again, and I end up doing another gram, and then 3 or so days later, another gram, then a few days later, a bit more, until it's all been consumed. So that's about 10 grams of mephedrone over a 1-month period. I was clearly showing highly addictive behavior, and would describe the state I was in during this binge as a fully psychotic episode of irrationality and uncaring self-harm. I'm usually very good with self-control and have tried things like heroin and coke and never felt the need to reuse the days after. But mephedrone was different for some reason. I would advise caution with this one. Mephedrone now has a very dark undertone to it in my opinion, even though I have yet to find out what it is. I stupidly brought 1 more lot of 2 grams, and this is when the problem started. T plus 0 hours. I was with 2 friends in my flat and started by snorting 150 milligrams and continued this for the next 5 hours. Doing about a line every hour or so. T plus 5 hours. Decided to bomb another 300 milligrams to peak the buzz. By now, the empathogenic properties I originally experienced on it were completely gone, and I was using it only for the stimulant type rush I received a few minutes after snorting it, similar to a coke rush. Listening to music sounded great and I was very happy. T plus 10 hours. Had now consumed a gram of the stuff and decided to give it a break and try to get some sleep as my friends had gone. This did not happen. My resting pulse was up at a ridiculous 130 beats per minute and sleep was absolutely unattainable. T plus 15 hours. There was no real come down, but a severe urge to do more was developing. I had given up sleeping, so I snorted a large 300 milligram line and started watching TV again. This line did nothing really due to tolerance, but still I felt compelled to continue. T plus 20 hours. Some more friends came round to my flat to watch TV with me, and by now the whole 2 grams was nearly gone. I thought, well, I might as well finish it off and racked up a final beefy 200 milligram line. This is when I noticed that my head was hurting, and I had a sharp pain at the back of my neck where my skull joined to my spine whenever I moved around. I then realized how bad my headache was. It felt like my brain was too big for my skull and there was pressure spreading all around my head, with a particularly bad pressure behind my eyes and ears when I moved around. I stood up to look at myself in the mirror and then noticed the color of my hands. The tips of my fingers had turned slightly purple, and my hands looked very red as if covered in a huge red rash. My friends started to look worried about this, as they had never seen anything like this before. These symptoms scared the crap out of me, and I decided to put the final line away and stop using. Then I started to feel extremely lightheaded, as if I was going to black out. So I lay down and stuck my feet in the air to get circulation to my head. It was then that I noticed the color of my knees. My knees had gone dark purple, as if covered by a massive bruise, and my feet were very pale and white. Then I noticed my elbows had also turned red like my hands and had a slightly purple tip to them like my knees. At which point I totally freaked out and asked one of my friends to phone an ambulance. I suddenly felt very hot and decided to walk out onto the street with my mates to cool off and wait for the ambulance. When on the street corner, I pretty much blacked out. I felt extremely lightheaded and had to sit on the ground and was covered from head to toe in sweat. I lay there thinking what a terrible way this would be to die. Outside in the cold, still in my early 20s. After a few minutes, the ambulance arrived and I was able to walk into it and sit down. The pressure in my head was immense. It felt as if my brain was trying to squeeze its way out of my eye sockets. But at the same time, I felt very lightheaded, and my hands were now turning from red to a bluish purple like my knees were. When in hospital and laying down on the emergency bed, my knees kept getting darker and darker purple, and it was spreading round to the back of my knees too. And an odd pimply red rash was developing on my elbows. Also, my mouth was covered in cold sores, probably as my immune system had been completely destroyed, and I kept getting cramps in my hands. Whenever I got up, it felt like I would pass out, and I had to keep drinking lots of water. The hospital was extremely busy, and it took 3 hours for a doctor to see me. When she did come, she seemed completely uninterested in my extremely bizarre symptoms and just gave me a "you're a very naughty boy" look and wrote down on the paper, "amphetamine abuse," without even asking what type of amphetamine I had taken or what the real problems I were experiencing were. They rigged me up to a heart monitor, monitored my oxygen levels, and put a blood pressure monitor for the night. My heart rate stayed at 110 for 8 hours in bed, and the blood pressure and oxygen levels were apparently normal. The color to my hands, elbows, and knees had pretty much returned by the morning. They discharged me 8 hours after I had arrived. It is now a month after this incident, and my knees are still not normal color. They always have a slightly purple tint to them. My hands especially are always cold and paler than they used to be, and I notice I get mild spontaneous red skin irritations on my body when doing activities like showering or indulging in other substances, such as kava or ketamine. My doctor does not know what's happened, but has recommended exercise to improve circulation. Whatever the mephedrone did, it has done something major to my body, which seems to be recovering, albeit very, very slowly. I should also report that I tried a minor dose of this stuff again a week ago. Decided to snort just 50 milligrams to see if anything happened, and it seemed to bring back the symptoms. My knees and elbows turned slightly purple again, and my elbows turned red, and I became quite lightheaded for a while afterwards. This was with just 50 milligrams, which is very worrying for me. I only hope that it's nothing permanent. One thing for sure, I'm never touching this stuff again. Far too under-researched. And I'm definitely not ever going to be a guinea pig again in the future for unknown legal research chemicals like this.